Tonight, we are going to focus on an independent dock maker who has been working quietly in Canada for over 20 years. Joginder Kalsi is a longtime resident of Toronto who specializes in making superb and accessible documentaries about his culture and his faith. Joginder's background is Punjabi. He's a Sikh. I have followed his development as a documentary maker for 20 years, and he has deftly catalogued subjects that are especially important to Canada's 300,000 Sikhs. Tonight, we are presenting The City of Amritsar. It details the importance and history of the Punjabi city that is home to the Golden Temple, the holiest city for the world's almost 30 million Sikhs. Following the presentation, I will discuss the project with Joginder and his editor, Shakil Nundllol. Later, we will also present some segments from two other Kalsi documentaries, one about the impact of modernity on a Punjabi village, and the other, A Selfless Life, is about the greatest humanitarian you've never heard of before tonight, Bhagat Puran Singh. So let's watch The City of Amritsar, and I'll see you after the film.
मुंदरी पंजाब दी कुदरत खड़ी मुंदरी पंजाब दी कुदरत खड़ी तू नगीने वत गई उस ते जड़ी तू नगीने वत गई उस ते जड़ी जर्रा जर्रा तेरा नूरो नूर है जर्रा जर्रा तेरा नूरो नूर है नाम तेरा जग ते मशहूर है नाम तेरा जग ते मशहूर है
The city of Amritsar is marked by many unusual contrasts. It is modern, yet it is rich in history. It is religious, yet it is also secular in a communal way. It is a cultural center, and yet commercial at the same time. Perhaps it is most evidently distinguished by a secular nature rooted in the city's development and history. Yet, the city makes a great show of the shrines belonging to different faiths. They are found everywhere: gurudwaras, Hindu temples, mosques, and churches. The cynosure of all eyes, of course, is the Hari Mandir, popularly known as the Golden Temple. One of the most beautiful temples in the world by virtue of its grandeur, its arts and architecture. It is situated in the heart of Amritsar. Though a Sikh temple, it is revered by all India's communities. The foundation of the city's communal spirit and secularism was established by Sikh gurus, the founders of the city, who requested Muslim Faqir Mian Mir of Lahore to lay the foundation stone of the Hari Mandir. Interestingly, the ancient city of Lahore, now in Pakistan, is located only 70 kilometers from Amritsar. One wonders how, in a short span of 4 centuries, Amritsar flourished so richly in the shadows of Lahore. Amritsar has now developed into not only a religious hub, but also an influential business center and a seat of learning in arts, handicrafts, and architecture. If one goes beyond history, deep into mythology, one finds the city replete with fascinating fables. According to popular belief, Valmiki, the author of the epic The Ramayana, composed it near or around the hallowed site of the pool of nectar, and Sita, the wife of Lord Rama, passed her Vanvasa, the period of exile, here. Yet another myth identifies the site of this pool with the place where the whole army of Lord Rama was destroyed by his sons, Lava and Kusha, and relates how at that time a restorative jug of nectar descended from heaven to revive the warriors. Valmiki's ashram, it is believed, lay close by the renowned pool of nectar. According to historical accounts, many water pools surrounded Valmiki's ashram, and the whole area breathed in the rich air produced by the lush forest. One such pool, Ram Tirath, is located about 11 kilometers from Amritsar, and others in the vicinity are known as Bibeksar, Ramsar, Santoksar, Ramtilai, and Durgiana. The water of the area is believed to contain healing characteristics, which have attracted hordes of wandering tribes and holy men alike. Guru Ramdas, the fourth Sikh Guru, charmed by the beauty and serenity of the surroundings, as well as the healing effects of the sweet air and the water of this area, purchased the restorative waters and the surrounding land in 1577. The Guru invited craftsmen from different parts of the country to build the temple and the city. A variety of trades and crafts took root in the area, and a wide range of communities started to prosper around the pool.
Welcome back to the Dockside. Hope you've enjoyed viewing our first presentation in the city of Amritsar. This time we're going to actually focus on the work of independent producers in Canada, independent documentary makers, people who work quietly and alone in the community, and not necessarily with the assistance of a broadcaster, but they just make productions on their own. Two of the gentlemen behind the documentary you just saw are with us in the studio. I'd like to introduce them to you. First of all, we have with us independent producer Shakil Nundllol. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
And the director-producer of the city of Amritsar, Joginder Kalsi, a longtime colleague of mine. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Joginder, when you make a project like the city of Amritsar, there are a couple of things I'd be interested in knowing. First of all, how do you choose that kind of a topic? And what are some of the challenges that face you when you choose to make a documentary like that?
I have been visiting India from '92. Every year I used to go. And one of the visits I've been to Amritsar and found some different things. Most of the people go to Darbar Sahib Golden Temple and Durgiana Mandir. These are the two monuments people visit. But I gone into some other akhadas, and there were Pingalwada, and there are social agencies working in the city. So I thought, why not make a movie of the city, how it developed in the times of the Gurus, and later on it was taken over by British in 1846. From there and the struggles, Amritsar has been a hub of these activities.
Yeah, you gave us a sense of the city's spiritual history and also its architecture, which I found fascinating. We looked at Hindu and Muslim and Christian sites as well as the obvious Sikh sites, which I found valuable. From your point of view, as the broadcast designer, as the guy who takes all the tapes and makes a program out of what he shoots, what are the challenges facing you, I can imagine?
I mean, challenges is in every production when you think about it. I mean, especially for this project, we had almost 30 to 40 tapes landing on your table.
Yeah.
And when you look at the script, and then the first question that you usually start with is like, where do you start and how do you browse it? So you have to sit down, get familiar with the raw footage that has been brought to you. And then, I mean, looking at the script, it was quite long. I mean, for 46 minutes, if but looking at the footage, then you start to generate from reading the script and what are the shots that needed, what are the how do we tackle the whole thing, and are we allowed to use a certain type of music, for example?
Why did you say are we allowed to use certain type of music? Our viewers would find that interesting.
I think, I mean, for me, I've always worked, I see mostly visual going side by side with music, and that's a very, very important component, and it helps for the editing as well. And usually for me, a piece of music usually inspire me to edit better, inspire me to understand the subject better, or to even cut better, put it together.
You would cut on the tempo change, or on the bars.
Yes, on the bars, on the tempo change, and in music, it brings more of the emotion, a portion of it. So that directs you a little bit. As an editor, I found that music is a big part of every production.
Do you? Does he present you with a shot list, or do you assemble a shot list together? I mean, when I say shot list, if you got 40 tapes, how do you know what you got?
Usually, Joginder will give me his favorite shots because he understands the subject better than me. So now I have to take those shots that he thinks, and from time to time we do talk over the phone, even, or on emails, or even live talking. We will meet and then we'll say, why did you choose that shot? What's so important about that shot? Why are we included? I don't think that's even the framing was done properly. So then we get into that kind of discussion where we started to select.
Do we have the shots we need, or how do we make do with what we've got?
Exactly. So usually, I mean, there are lots of rejections as well, and you know that. I mean, we have to shoot based on a certain ratio, but with this kind of project, when you think about it, there are no ratios. We kind of break that boundary of
What kind of ratios are we talking about?
I mean, here we are talking about
maybe 15.
15 to 1?
Or more.
So for every 15 minutes of tape you got, you may have 1 minute that goes into the production.
Exactly.
Oh, that's pretty good nonetheless.
So he's a artist himself, and he knows music is the one thing. He won't start a project unless I have music scored, and he will sit on it. I say, why didn't you start? You got all the script, all the shots. He said, where's the music? So he works with the music. It's one thing about him. He likes the music, so then whatever he asks me, bring me this kind of music.
Now, with this particular documentary, how did you know what to shoot, where to shoot? I mean, this is a function of where you grew up, or what? I mean, tell us.
No, it is I found the history. We researched the history, how the town came into existence, and how it grew. And with that, there were communities coming along, and there were some periods where Muslims were ruling India, and then came the British. And this has history, and what impact it had on the community itself, and how the city grew up.
This is interesting because you mentioned history. And full disclosure, I was a consultant to you on this project. And I remember one of the discussions we had was around Operation Blue Star, which is where a group of 6 were inside the Golden Temple, and the Indian government's troops fired on the Golden Temple. That's a difficult story to tell without arousing all sorts of political tensions. Remind me, how do we deal with that? How do we...
Thing is, there was pro-Indian government people, pro-Pindramale people. And generally, my script goes around to various people. And one of the guys, he suggested, why you are showing this? I say, it is not honest if you don't show a it was a big impact on Sikh life. If I don't show it, it's dishonesty. But how to tackle this was, I had a middle ground where you have seen in the movie itself that we don't blame anybody or what, it happened.
Yeah, it's an historical fact that in 1984,
Yeah.
Indira Gandhi sent Indian troops to try and flush out this group of separatists or whatever
Yeah.
from the Golden Temple.
Yeah.
And they fired on the Holy Temple.
Yeah.
And they're actually, the bullet holes are still there, some of them.
Yeah, it was a very difficult subject, and it took me long time to solve it, and you were involved in
Yeah.
it. So this was the way we shown we are not any pro-Indian government or pro-Pindranwale.
Yeah.
So it was a fact
Yeah.
explained to the people.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, coming to this particular portion of that documentary, probably in that segment we edited like a few versions.
Yes, I recall.
Because script going back and forth, and then even when we put it together, we just had to watch that segment several times. And Joginder mentioned about you know, when you look at it, we try not to take any side. And that's a very important, because a very important point here. So technically, I had to go back, and every time we have to tweak that segment, and that's the reason why it took us a little bit time to even finish, you know, the project itself.
Let me understand correctly. Is this the broadcast premiere of City of Amritsar? Has it been on broadcast elsewhere?
No, not on a major network yet.
This is the first time?
First time.
So let me talk to you as an independent producer. How is that? How do you distribute? What's your business case? If there is a business case.
It's a passion rather than a business case. I have been lucky. I have been working as a mechanical designer with a lot of money, so I could
It's a labor of love.
So, but there were some community, I had some sponsors. They will sponsor the film. There was one major sponsor and 10.
So if one of our viewers wanted to acquire this, could they acquire this?
Oh yeah, sure.
How would they do that?
They can, our Punjabi, there is a website, www.punjabimart,
M-A-R-T, Punjabi Mart.
punjabimart.com.
.com.
So they can phone. It is still in the stores,
Yeah.
and people can acquire it.
All right. From your point of view, when you work on a project like this, because it's different than a large-scale commercial project, what are some of the differences you encounter?
I mean, first I have to understand the whole subject, so that myself, I can bring my talent, I can bring my knowledge, and from time to time I do sit down with Joginder. I said, yeah, you know what, this doesn't work.
Okay.
We don't want to see that, and this is when the tweakings happen. So I mean, we have, though he wrote the script and he will have that consulted, but once you put it on the timeline, only then you will see it with the music, with all the comments and all that kind of thing. When him and we sit down together, we will see the whole thing.
Very good. Well, listen, I'll tell you what. After the break, viewers, you're going to get a chance to see a segment from another one of their productions called A Punjabi Village. Stay tuned. We're going to show you a small segment from that, and then after that, we'll have another discussion. See you shortly.
When I was growing up, I lived in Punjab in India, my birthplace. My memories come alive as I journey back to my childhood village. I have journeyed halfway around the world to discover how life is today. Punjab is one of the 28 states in India situated in the country's northwest. There are about 80 million Punjabi-speaking people all over the world. Out of those, approximately 25 million live in this part of Indian Punjab. My daily life as a boy in Punjab consisted of rising at dawn, taking a fresh water bath at the well, and having my morning breakfast, yogurt, buttermilk, and chapatis, cooked over a cow dung fire. I walked to the primary school where I studied basic languages, mathematics, history, and geography. Our values were based on our faith, and life revolved around family. Today, as I travel on the famous and much written about Grand Trunk Road from New Delhi, I remember when this road had only 2 lanes. Once the longest road in Asia, it still winds through hundreds of towns and villages from Peshawar in Pakistan to Calcutta in India. The road, built hundreds of years ago, remains even today a vital lifeline for Punjab, connecting it with the rest of the country. The bulk of the population of India used to live in villages. Over 500,000 of them dotted the map. These villages had uniform kind of habitation and were complete community units, self-sufficient, supporting everybody who lived there. The recent trend in urbanization and globalization have also brought about changes in rural life. While Indian villages are eager to adapt to new ways, they are also careful in maintaining their old traditions. They continue to live both in the past and the present at the same time. You can understand life in Punjab by the rhythm of its observances of holy days. Throughout the year, there are many festivals celebrated here: Sikh, Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, and Christian festivals. Punjab is proud of the diversity and unity of its inhabitants. The festival of Lohri is similar to Halloween in the West. Smartly dressed children go from home to home in groups, singing songs for Lohri. Instead of receiving candy for their trick-or-treating, they receive gifts of grain, country sugar, that is jaggery, or money. Late at night, there are bonfires in the streets. Volunteers collect sweets from the homes with newborn children, especially boys, or recently wedded couples, and the bounty is then shared around the fire. After the partition of India in 1947, Chaukia has become popular again. The festival honors the Muslim saint Lalanwala Peer of Multan. A traveling feast, it goes from village to village for a month.
ਇਹੋ ਪੀਰ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਪੀਰ ਨੇ ਲੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਦਾਤੇ ਨੇ ਲਾਲਾ ਵਾਲੇ ਪੀਰ ਨੇ ਅੰਨਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਖੀਆਂ ਲਾਈਆਂ ਕੋੜੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਕੋੜ ਦੂਰ ਕੀਤੇ ਅਤੇ ਖੁਸਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੁਰਾਦਾਂ ਵੰਡੀਆਂ
Basant Panchami signals the end of the winter. Fields bloom with yellow mustard and green wheat, creating a spring patchwork quilt throughout the countryside. In the spirit of Basant, the women wear yellow scarves and men wear yellow turbans. Kites fly from rooftops. Punjab dawns its spring colors. Another festival that is marked by brilliant colors is Holi. During Holi, neighbors exchange greetings and splash each other with festive colored sprays and powders. This is a Hindu festival. There are many myths as to its origins. One of them relates Holi to Lord Krishna playing with his companions with colors. These wonderful festivals contribute to the rich fabric of Punjabi life.
Well, that was a segment from a Punjabi village produced by Shakil Nundllol and director-producer Joginder Kalsi. And I have to ask you, how well was this documentary received?
This documentary is still in circulation. It was made in 2003.
Yes.
This documentary gives the under globalization what has been changed in Punjab. Agriculture, education, commerce, social structure. So it gives the background to what was there and what is new now.
So, did you grow up in that village? Or you grew up near that village?
I grew up in my village up to the age of 16. Then I gone away to study. But then I was working and I was going back again to my village every year or every 6 months.
And this documentary captures some of the transformation you have seen.
In 50 years, in fact, when I came out of India in 1962, after that I had visits to India and continuously I have been watching the transformation.
This is a different kind of documentary, Shakil. It's kind of an archive. It's kind of a record of what took place. So what are the challenges facing you when you put together something like that?
I mean, I have to understand his way of telling the story.
Yes.
And that was very, to me, because, you know, I was sitting on the other side. When I look at it, I said, okay, how do we tie them up in such a way to make it interesting? And so I have to sit down even without the script. After reading the script, I have to sit down without, you know, bringing the script elements into on the table, but sit down with Joginder and understand how he is related to that whole storytelling there. So only then I've been able to edit that a little bit better, because the first rough cut that we've done, first of all, it was a little bit long because we had so many things to tell, and then we had to cut down just to make it fit. Based on the
full running time is what, 46
minutes again.
Yep.
And I mean, at some point the script was looking at around 1 hour 15 minutes.
Yeah, the script was overwritten. I recall working with you on this.
Exactly. So it was quite long, but now deciding how to cut that down to 46 minutes. So that was Joginder's call, and I know there are some of the stuff that, where he was very close to it, he doesn't want to.
We're not leaving that on the cutting room floor.
Exactly.
Going to India, 92, Then from 95 continuously every year, I was doing the shoot every time. So it was tons of footage.
So you were hoping to capture a record of the changes and transformation of village life.
Actually, it wasn't. It came, we discussed about this footage and you said, why don't you, it was your idea as well.
It was. I can't remember now. Yeah.
So then we approached a script writer and told them, gave her the footage, and she looked at it and she...
Has there, I mean, I know that you've made this in Canada and you've largely a Canadian audience, but has there been interest elsewhere overseas in this kind of project? I imagine libraries in the Punjab might find it interesting.
Not really. Punjab, this was shown to a Punjab Agriculture University. It was previewed there and they liked it. We are not a community of documentary style. We don't watch many documentaries. We like Bollywood.
Romances.
Romance,
Songs
dance, and drama,
dancing.
and fighting and all that. Documentaries are rarely produced in India. Now they are coming up with documentaries. It wasn't a...
What do your fellow producers think of you making documentaries? What do people in the community say to you? Why don't you make a romance? Or what do you hear from the community?
No, they say, when you are going to make a feature film?
A feature film.
I said, I am happy with the documentaries.
I think documentaries is you know, it's more for the people that is related to that. For example, Joginder is related to that village, so he saw the changes. And I think instead of gathering 200 people at home and tell them the whole story, what he has seen for the past you know, 50 years, 40 years, whatever it is, telling them. So I think that's the reason why he made that documentary, because he wanted to tell them what are the changes and what are the changes have gone you know, in that village, and how this is affecting probably the new generation, or how it's getting there, you know, trying to level them up, you know, to the other cities or other villages or other countries. Okay. So I think this is what he was trying to do, is like he saw the changes.
Okay, well, when we come back after the break, we're going to take a small segment from another one of your documentaries, a short segment from a documentary called A Selfless Life, Life of Bhagat Puran Singh, probably the greatest humanitarian our viewers have never heard of, but will find interesting. Please stay with us. One of filmmaker Joginder Kalsi's most recent projects is a biography of the life of the greatest humanitarian you've probably never heard of, Bhagat Puran Singh. Here's an excerpt from A Selfless Life. We'll be back to talk about it in a few minutes.
This is the story of a humble but a great man who dedicated his life to the service of humanity. He was one man, but he was the world to me. He was fountain of love not only to me, but to the whole of humanity who came in contact with him. He was embodiment of servitude and righteousness, and yes, much more. When he came into my life, I was only 4 years old. My name is Pyara Singh, a name which he gave to me I remained alive solely because of the love and dedication of him. His life is the story of thousands of people like me who have been touched by his love. He picked us up from the heap of society's discarded and unwanted. We are the sick, the poor, the disabled. In us, he only saw the face of the true God. But to me, he himself was a God. He was a spiritual giant. This is the house he built, an everlasting testimony to his compassion. It is called Pingalwada. The founder of the house was Bhagat Puran Singh Ji. In this house were those discarded by society, the masses whom Bhagat Ji loved more than anyone could love, even more than one's own family members. Pingalwada, translated literally, means the house of cripples. I would like to explain how this idea of building the noble place came to Bhagat Ji. It was when he saw that the discarded souls needed a permanent place to live. Before this, he tended to the sick and crippled on the roadside. He used public and railway station washrooms to wash the wounds and dirty clothes of the sick. The journey was arduous and painful, but single-handedly, toiling day and night, in scorching heat and biting cold, in rains and thunderstorms, undeterred by adversaries, undaunted by criticism, he continued to pick up these wretched, dying, dirty, infectious creatures of God from wherever they could be found to bring them to Pingalwada. It was thankless, painful, and difficult work.
Mother Teresa had the support of the powerful Roman Catholic Church, of the Western media, and foundations like Rockefeller and Ford, plus the enormous sums of money she got from the Nobel Prize. Bhagat Puran Singh had absolutely nothing.
In the summer of 1992, Bhagat Puran Singh fell ill. Despite being attended to by the foremost specialists, he never recovered. He left this world forever on August 5th, 1992. Thus passed away a legendary figure who fought for the survival of the suffering masses for more than 7 decades.
Upon him were conferred such national awards as Padma Shri, Lok Ratan, and Punjab State Bhai Kanhaiya Award. In his lifetime, he never concerned himself with awards. He even returned the Padma Shri Award after the Indian Army's assault on the Golden Temple in June 1984. It is disappointing that the Indian people never fully honored this hero among them and his service to humanity. Upon his death, no national paper carried his obituary. In fact, he was and remains India's unsung modern-day hero.
A remarkable life indeed Bhagat Puran Singh had. You know, an unsung humanitarian, someone we don't hear much about in the rest of the world, I have to tell you. What made you decide to make this documentary about this great humanitarian?
In city of Amritsar, you have seen there is a 2.5 minutes segment on Pingalwada.
Pingalwada, yes.
This is the home he made for the crippled. This movie, city of Amritsar, was being reviewed or previewed in a school, and the present CEO walked to me and she said, "Why don't you make a movie on Bhagat Puran Singh ji?" So I told her, I don't have resources. She said she will provide all the resources required. It means the material, and she gave me a book, My Sacred Burden. So I came back to Canada and I started reading that book. Perhaps you read that book too.
I did.
And I found astonishing facts about this guy, and nobody knows around the world. So I phoned the CEO, Dr. Inderjeet Kaur, that what kind of storyline you need from me. She said, oh, he has spent his life on Sikh ideals. I say, he's greater than that. He is an international figure.
He's not owned by one religion.
Yeah. So then I consulted you, Shakil and Narinder and everybody, that we had to have a film, and it was very difficult to what angle we should take on this film. And you remember, we said the ward he is carrying for 14 years on
He carried him on his shoulders, on his back.
On his shoulders for 14 years. Let's have a story told by him as well.
Yeah, from his point of view.
Yeah.
And the other thing I noticed, Shakil, I mean, I remember when Joginder started on the project, there's not a lot of archival footage.
No.
It's all stills.
It's all stills.
What are the challenges for you when you're putting it together when you got nothing but stills to work with?
I mean, first of all, I mean, for me, when it comes to this type of subject, I mean, it's really touchy, and this is my interest, because in people helping people, there is no boundaries, there is no barriers, there is no religion, and when I saw that, I think for me, it was a good interest for me to get started. So, looking at the pictures, I think we had done so much research, and to tell this, like, get the pictures, tell the story, it was very difficult because first of all, we don't have enough. Secondly, we had to make the pictures speak. So how do we do that? So we have done so much research, even just to get some more extra footage, but it was difficult.
One of the unusual things about this particular documentary, which you alluded to a few moments ago, is telling the story, part of the story, from the point of view of inside the mind of a developmentally challenged person that he carried around on his back for 14 years. That, or was it 40 years or 14 years?
14 years 14. He carried on his back.
Carried him on his back.
Yeah.
And where the device came from, William Faulkner actually wrote a novel, I think it was Go Down Moses, which was told from inside the mind of a developmentally challenged child.
Yeah.
The idea of telling it that way made it unusual and different.
Yeah, it was, to me, a whole experience making this movie. Firstly, visiting the homes of these crippled people. Sometimes I was so emotional, I could not shoot it. I had to stop the shooting. So looking at those people, and the service Bhagatji did was great. And I think our own people don't know him, and that's why it is a really, I am honored to make this movie, that I have taken this project.
I think with telling the story in Pyara's perspective, it was very interesting, is because we have to know what went in his mind and how he was seeing things. and that was a unique approach. How do you tell a story from their perspective? And I think when we did that, we tried to. It brought a better realism to the whole storytelling, to me.
Yeah, because there's a just before we go, I want to say there's a real challenge to telling a story that is one where a lot of what he dealt with broken people.
Yes.
He dealt with situations where there was filth everywhere.
Yes.
It's a hard story to tell from a video point of view, and still upraise the human spirit. He's working in human misery,
Yes.
and at the same time tell a story that uplifts people and makes people feel that there's something worthwhile here. And I must say that that's part of the joy of making this kind of project.
Yeah.
Listen, when we come back after the break, I'd like to talk to the two of you about what it means to be an independent producer without heavy broadcast support in this nation, an independent documentary maker. Please stay with us. We'll be back soon. One of the interesting things about having both of you on the program is often we talk to producers, documentary makers who are well known. Their projects are advertised, publicized. Everybody knows what they're working on. You two tend to work in a fairly quiet realm. You work quietly, studiously. You're always, I know you've always been working, 20 years I've known you, you're always working on some documentary project. So fill me in. What are you working on right now? And what are some of the challenges facing you? What are you looking at doing over the next few years?
Presently, I'm making an art film.
An art film?
Yeah, there was a Punjabi artist, his name was Sohan Kadri.
Yes.
And international fame artist, but abstract art. Not many people like abstract art, they don't appreciate it. And he was a yoga teacher, he was a poet, and he was an artist. So his life from a small Punjabi village and how he rose to the international fame. This is the story. He died.
Well, what attracts you to a project? That's a bit of a mystery to most people. Like I'm sure you get many ideas come across your desk. What attracts you to a project?
He was my friend. We had some segments which I created for Visions of Punjab.
A TV show you used to
TV
make.
show I started with Iqbal Mahal in '81, where we discussed Punjabi art forms. The Punjabi art, where it came from. It is a very old story. Many Punjabis don't know their own background, how rich was our nation, and it was invaded by Alexander, Sakas, Huns, and there has been so many invaders. One guy invaded India 117 times, and so they were looters. But there was so much art and but destroyed, and no Punjabi knows about it.
I must say, knowing the projects you work on, you have been doing a single-handed restoration project when it comes to Punjabi culture, Sikh identity over the years. The projects you work on are projects that it seems to me no one else is making projects precisely like that, that preserve culture and history. What are you working on these days, and what are you going to be working on?
I mean, I'm currently working on a couple of other projects. One is one of the kids' episode, which is called Adam's World.
Yes.
Where I'm technically providing, all the technical aspects.
It's animation, correct?
It's a mix of animation, live, and green screening and all that kind of thing. So technically, I have to make it look good and finish the whole project and package it and send it to Sound Vision. And right now I'm making some graphics, animation, motion graphics for another producer who is working on a very interesting project about schools and all that kind of thing. And I work with different producers who has like different projects to work on, and that's what makes it interesting, because not every project is the same.
No.
So the challenges are there. So that makes you become more creative, understand the people's point of view. Different producers have different ways of expressing. So that gives me the opportunity to express myself in different ways, in different angles, in different color schemes or palettes and stuff like that.
That's lovely. You live in a different world. You inhabit a different world than many of the documentary makers who make who start off, they get a broadcast license, or they get assistance from a broadcaster, or they're expecting government money down the road, tax credits, etc. Many of them start a project by having a broadcast license. They know where they're going to go. But you start out, when you make a project, I'm not sure what your business case looks like. To come back to a point.
Actually, there are a few sponsors, they sponsor it, but I never recover my costs. Some of the movies I made profit, but generally I break even. Again, it's my passion, and I do it for love of doing something.
Shakil, you're in the community a fair bit. Are there a lot of people making documentaries sort of below the radar, like this?
I know a few people, a few producers and directors that I know. They do make, but not many though. That's the only thing in our community. But I think we are getting there. With the new generation, with the new exposures, internet, and university students are taking on some great subjects, titles or topics to make it work. But the art of making documentary is different. You have to understand how it's made and how it's made good. How to, it's not about just putting a few old pictures together and put the narration and tell a story. I think, as independent producers and, we all know that there are lots of research that goes into documentaries, and that people they have to know, like what kind of you have to know the subject, you have to do lots of research, talk to other people who knows more than you, usually. And usually it's always sit down and discuss to get the storyline, or even getting the story put together well. And technically you have to bring all the technical aspects as well.
Okay, well look, when we come back after the break, a few final words with you. We'll see you after the break.
Sure.
In our final few moments with our guests who are independent producers, I'm going to ask the question, does it take a village? I mean, you don't just work alone. How do you collaborate?
Actually, I have other people involved in it. One of them is Jasbir Hanspal. We call him Jassi. You have met him.
Yes.
Iqbal Mahal.
Yes.
Narendra Chana.
Yes.
So they have been with me from the beginning, and they are still, I seek their help, and moreover I seek your help
on occasion. Yeah. No, so it takes more than just one person to work on this kind of project. You are building it like a virtual corporation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
From your point of view.
It's a network of people, and I think we are all linked in somehow. And whenever some project like this will come up, usually Joginder will call me and we'll talk about it and say, okay, let's whoever is involved, let's get together, sit down and discuss. So I mean, again, it's not a one person type of job, it's a team of people, and usually how we get the the film make. So
typically, how long does it take you to make one of these documentaries?
It can now, the other one, Architect of 6 Shrines, it is on his computer for the last 2 years. So depending now, health-wise, I wasn't that good the last 2 years, but I am beginning to go on full steam, and one documentary, I will say 2 years at least.
Okay, one of the things I find fascinating about our discussion this evening about independent producers is that you work quietly, you're working without strings attached, you're making documentaries about areas of life which no one else is making them about, and in some cases about other nations. I find it fascinating that some of the best documentaries I have seen on matters related to India, for example, in Indian lifestyle, village lifestyle, Sikh religion, etc., are being made by Canadians right here in Canada. And you're to be applauded for the fact that you put in the diligence and the time to make these kind of productions without support and where no one else is making such projects. I'd like to thank you both, and I'd like to invite our viewers to join us again next time on The Doc Side. We'll be back next week with more documentary and discussion. Good night.